Hello, folks. Welcome to another live stream poetry reading. Tonight's poets are Doug Green, Becky, Boling, Annette Gagliardi, and we may be joined by another poet later. I will start off reading a couple of my poems and then we'll get into it. This poem is called The Foe. Sometimes I just want to sleep, 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 Van Winkle deep. This I must resist, but the foe will not desist. I'm not tired, yet this drowsiness, as if on the prowl, finds me and overtakes. My eyes start to slow and close. I make my way to nowhere. This foe so tricky and determined. I shake him off, he keeps returning. I know I must force myself through the course of the day, take a deep breath and keep moving, prevent the foe from having his way. There are times I win and move with energy, but now my positivity eludes me. I think it's best to shut my eyes, rest to become refreshed, and face the foe later, some other day. This next poem is called Resolute. I wrote it during one of our weird winters. I will accept the muddy water on a frozen day, the robin standing in the snow, as if south is not the way to go. I will no longer question why the night must lighten, why the day must start, as if it was a heartbeat, and the sun a saving shock. First up tonight, we got D.E. Green, who taught English at Augsburg College for 33 years. He has published articles on Shakespeare, general interest essays, and poetry. His poem Gratitude won the 2018 Martin Lake Journal Bookend Prize. Other work has appeared in Bright Light, Stories in the Night, in the Red Wing Arts Poetry Artist Collaboration, in Third Wednesday, in Lost Lake Folk Opera, in Willow's Wet Review, with Peter Sorrell's photographs in Lake Sky, and on the sidewalks of his hometown, Northfield, Minnesota. His first solo collection, Jumping the Medium, was published in 2019. His second, Catastrophizing the Catastrophe, in 2023. Green's work has appeared in We Look West by the five poets of the Northfield Public Library, as well as in Little by Little, the Bird Builds Its Nest, and Bridge and Division. Jointly with spouse Becky Boling, Green served as interim Northfield Poet Laureate 2023 to 2024. Take it away, Doug.
Thank you, Ron. I'm really happy to be here with everybody. Thanks for inviting me and Becky. I'm going to start off with a very short poem I wrote immediately after shortly after the election. It's called In Other Words. It's a bleak November day, slate gray sky, chilly wind. Even Minnesotans are shivering. It feels like a metaphor. The second poem that I'm going to read, actually the second and third poems are from our book, We Look West, which we're part of with three other poets. Becky and I are joined by three other poets of the Northfield Public Library. The library let us use that appellation, which we're very grateful for. And we're very proud of our local library, which just won a national award. This first poem is called Long Marriage. That's also the tentative title of a project Becky and I are working on, both our marriage and a book. And so that's called Long Marriage. In the morning, after exercises, I release the dog from his kennel. We descend the stairs, disturb you writing in your journal. There's a cup of lukewarm coffee with soy on the counter. I chug it with my pills to stave off death and head out into the snow with the dog. We trudge for about 3/4 of an hour in the bitter landscape. When I return, there it is again, that lukewarm cup of coffee with soy. This next poem is a sort of ecological poem. It was inspired by the ekphrastic site, a picture on the ekphrastic site, visual verse. The title is the first line. You can't imagine what it was like before plastic. The sun shone softly over fields. Earth buried the dead as they fell. We didn't carry extinction in eternal shopping bags. We didn't swelter beneath our once life-giving star. The ghosts of ancestors rested beside us, protected us. Now the searing heat has dried those souls. We poisoned the waters. The dust of the past balloons as we shuffle across our dead planet. The next two poems, a friend of ours, Libby Jones, a poet from Kentucky who happens to be moving up to Northfield, gave us this prompt called a Between the Lines prompt. And so I've taken poems by, first by David Budbill in this next poem, and I've written between his lines, and then pulled them out, and this is what came up. December, today, dawn, after David Budbill. At sunrise, I set out with the dog in the usual direction. One more daily walk through our neighborhood, but unexpectedly, as if my feet have a will of their own, I shift toward campus and the Arboretum. It's the mildest day in a week, a mere degree below freezing, so I think, why not? I haven't taken a stroll through these woods since the cold descended. The rising sun illuminates the college chapel steeple over houses, still in shadow. Lyman lakes are freezing, their crazed surfaces awash in subdued light, orange and pale blue. The woods are quieter than on my last walk here in October. Just a few birds, the squirrel's sporadic chatter. Swift stepping, we rush through chill and shadowy near hush. My heart lightens, the dog prances jauntily. And I've taken his poem actually and turned it into a sonnet in couplets, 7 couplets with the last two rhyme. The next one is after a poem by Jane Hirschfield. My son asks me what I think. My son asks me what I think. It feels like an interrogation, the kind of query I have no patience for, though he inquires politely. My son won't like what I have to say. My son won't be satisfied with me. Any answer will sound wrong. My son is sharp and sudden. My son says, cut the crap. Tell me the truth. I do not reply. I won't respond. I go inside, sit down, pick up my book. My son follows me. He's scrolling on his phone. This is how we read together now. I just want to say, for my son Zach's sake, he's nothing like that. We all have those moments along the way, but this is fortunately not the case. We Ron mentioned Little by Little, the Bird Builds Its Nest, a beautiful book by Julie Fitzinger of Paris Morning Publications put out. It's got poets from all over Minnesota and the country. Becky and I are included in it. I'm going to read one poem from there. It's called Tree on a Hill, Marine on St. Croix, Minnesota. You're both mass and grace. Your bowl turned slightly at the base like a dancer in mid-pivot. Your limbs, three large stems at chin level, arch over the hill, rise up and overlook the slope. One seems as if it's glancing back, casting behind a longing, lingering look. There's a silent strength to you, your leaves barely stirring in the cool of the mid-spring breeze after a cold rain. A robin is flitting, bold, out in the sunlight on the lawn that extends to the pond, fringed with dried cattails along the water's edge. The red breast is roused, then gone up the hill through your limbs. I am sitting a few feet from him as he flies by. I would welcome your solidity, your calm, to be open to a robin flashing through outstretched arms to the sun beyond. And then the last two poems return to marriage. This first one, actually, the title of it is taken from a show the Duplass brothers did on one of the streaming services called Togetherness, and I think it'll be pretty evident. It's also a sonnet and couplet. Togetherness. We had finished the episode where she finally tells her husband the truth. She slept with David. Just once. It was a mistake. She's sorry, and they're in a good place right now, so the time feels right for honesty, for coming clean. No more secrets. We could see it wouldn't work out that way. He wasn't strong enough to weather infidelity. Even this mistake. And as we turn off the TV, we wonder, could we? And would we want to know? Or would it be better to live deluded, selfish to tell such troubling truth? We aren't sure. We know we are lucky. We've passed that stage. So far, so far. And the last poem I'll read is called Our Kitchen. Most days, once we close up the porch, I sit at our kitchen table to do my work. It's not real work. Those days are over because I don't get paid. But it feels authentic, solid, something that occupies me or with which I occupy myself. Some might say it's my obsession, though I don't want work to be the same as meaning, as purpose. So I imagine the people I imagine I'm serving by doing all this work in the kitchen, which you will enter soon with groceries for this evening's meal, and I will help you put away the dry goods on high shelves just beyond your reach, so you will always need me here in our kitchen where the real work of living thrives. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Nice poem. I like the ending of the kitchen. The real word. Next up is Becky Boling, a Ohio Valley user and naturalized Minnesotan. Her poetry appeared in Agate's Third Wednesday Magazine, Gleam, Journal of the Calrador. I know I said that wrong. Lost Lake Folk Opera, Misfit, Moss Puppy, Persimmon Tree, and Will's Wheat Review, as well as anthologies. We Look West, which is one of 5 contributing poets. Little by Little, the Bird Builds Its Nest, which Doug just mentioned. Her first poetry collection, Here Beyond Small Wonders, is forthcoming from Finishing Line Press. What? She won the first place prize for her Arts Poetica at the 75th year anniversary of the Pennsylvania Poetry Society 2024. Take it away, Becky.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for inviting us to read today. So, well, Doug has talked about Long Marriage, our project, both in the real world and on paper. And this is the poem that we might put alongside the last poem that he read. Modest Magic. I'm the conduit of food from store to table. My spells, smooth, rough edges, sandpaper obstacles in my son's path, shaves warts from my husband's worrisome labors. I draw attention to small wonders, rescue lost box elder bugs who do no harm, just slip inside to visit, but forget their original designs and lose the knack of farewells. I permit snake plants to endure their eternity in potted soil with indirect light and meager courtesies. Ever-present dust is rarely disturbed, but revered as the sum of all mortalities. Everyday magic abides in my modest talents, the morning cup of coffee, the gift of silence. So, in one of the journals, both Doug and I really love Willow's Wept Review. The editor, Troy Urquhart, I might be mispronouncing it, is a wonderful editor, and he's been created a sort of home for us. This is a poem that I think a lot of women writers have approached this subject. Its title is Lot's Wife. Let's call her Sally, a realist, the salt of the earth she was. She was told by complete strangers to pack a few figs, bundle the kids, leave town, and not look back. But she did, wouldn't you? Surely it was just a metaphor. In times of crisis, when reason sleeps in self-defense or self-doubt, don't we turn and reconsider rash decisions? Perhaps to question the grass is always greener on the other side syndrome, to stay grounded, if not to stand one's ground. To know where we come from when we can't be sure where we're going. So Sally couldn't ignore nature's curiosity. She turned to look back over her shoulder to home, as bad as it might have been, no matter the scurvy, surly neighbors, corrupt officials and littered streets, rampant inflation and overblown egos. And the story goes, she was punished. She knew the price. Not the details, but the strangers had warned her. Bam! She held her shape for an instant before her salty independence crumbled into a mineral heap. She was meant to survive, but chose to look back, less trusting of the future than sad and yearning for the past. Nothing lasts. She knew this too, but still took one last look. Then this book, We Look West, the Northfield Library poets, who include Doug and me, of course, and then Heather Candles, Steve McCown, and Julie A. Ryan. We're all part of a writing group that always met starting in the library is where we started meeting. And we continue to go to the library and to meet 2 days a month. So this is a short poem, Laughter. I once laughed at a boy who tripped over awkward feet he hadn't grown into yet. I stopped when he lay too long in the tall grass, head down. Had my response brought him lower? The laugh track on sitcoms I was raised on, like sugary morning cereal, showed me others were made of rubber, able to fall, bounce, rebound unscathed. TV pratfalls performed to amuse, prepared us from an early age to be both optimistic and cruel. My mother died a little over a year ago, and recently when I was thinking of the anniversary of her death, I sat down. Well, first of all, I went to a box of hair clips and things that she had, and this is one of them. And I noticed that there was hair still caught in the clasps. So I wrote this poem, My Mother's Body. I pluck dry strands from my mother's hairpin. They come away like spider's silk, gray, translucent in the morning's light. How is it that these strands, these fine threads of genetic code, still tangle on my fingers in their need to cling? As I extricate coils of gray hair, I let them float down toward the waste bin. Then, before they land, my hand nets them from the air and returns them to my mother's case, the one I opened near this anniversary of her death. I set the black dahlia hairpin in my own red turning ash, tilt my mother's face in the mirror for her to admire. Pesky DNA. This is a poem. My mother was a waitress when I was a kid, and I have great sympathy for anyone who works in a restaurant or a bar and waits on people. Just another summer at the grill after a line from Thomas McGrath's Beyond the Red River. Summer dozes in poolside chairs. Pineapple sears the tongue, glazes the runnels from lips to chin. The TV commercial tempts her. Warm beaches somewhere else in a body whose skin still reaches toward sun. Number up! The bell rings. She wipes her hands on the towel tucked into her apron, heads toward the grill's oily heat. Salt sizzled bacon, onions like inner tubes. She tries to think how seawater feels on flesh, how feet feel sinking into cool sifted sand. The ticket is smudged with grease. Inked numbers add up as the register chings. Coins rattle in the deep coffer of another summer gone. And this is a poem I wrote when I went to accept my award in Pennsylvania, which was great fun. I wrote this because Doug was on the other side of who knows where. And it's all about him. Apple. You are the apple, long-stemmed. I climbed a ladder to pick from a tired tree. Your deep red cried stop. Green leaves fluttered like Victorian virgins, as if to shield your sweet promise. You are the apple, and I will eat you to the core, teeth biting, bruised skin, breathing your apple sigh, tasting spring rain, hot summer gusts from the sea salt gulf, long days, golden light, fireflies, ghostly stars. You are my blood red apple love. I plucked alive from the green world, and I mean to devour you whole, worm and all. And if I have a moment to read one poem from the collection that is coming out in March, it is Finishing Line Press. And I love the color. I did the photo, so I was very pleased with the cover. This is Horsefly. The horsefly, the biting kind, chose to dine on me that July on the Michigan lakefront beach. I was the morsel on a sandy plate of charcuterie, a sun-baked savory, sweet seasoned in the midsummer heat. From the dune grass she came, green head, razor mouth, to eat or die, ravenous for her blood feast. Midday sacrifice, driven mad by a dauntless pursuer, I dove bleeding into cold lake water. Somewhere in the tall grass or heavy on the windless air, she waits for dessert. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becky. Those poems were wonderful.
What? What?
Our next poet is Annette Gagliardi. Can't talk tonight. Our next poet is Annette Gagliardi, who looks at the dimly tinted shadows and morphed illusions that become light and finds illumination. She sees what others do not and grasps the fruit hiding there, then squeezes all the juice that life has to offer and serves it up as poetry, or jelly, depending on the day. Her work has appeared in many literary journals in Canada, England, Sweden, and the USA, including Little Shark, Motherwell, St. Paul Almanac, Wisconsin Review, American Diversity Report, Omegani Poems Project, Amherst Review, Door is Ajar, Trouble Among the Stars, Sylvia Magazine, and others. Gagliardi's first poetry collection titled A Short Supply of Viability was published in 2022 through the Poetry Box. Her second chapbook titled Caffeinated was published through the Island of Wakwak Publishing, Sweden in October of 2024. Gagliardi's historical fiction titled Ponderosa Pines, Days of the Deadwood Forest Fire, which was published in 2022, won the Pencraft Book Award for Literary Excellence in the fall of 2023. Take it away, Annette.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, for having me. And thanks for your attention. So my first couple of poems I'm going to read out of this new book that I just got published, Caffeinated. And it just recently won the Literary Titan Book Award. So I'm very excited, happy and proud of it. So this one originally was published in the Minneapolis Southwest Journal. And it's included in this book, You Lucky Dog. Another morning, I struggle to feel alive. The dog, snoring softly on our bedroom rug, content and peaceful in his repose, doesn't rise, as I do, stumbling in the dark to eliminate the night's accumulation. His dream continues into the warming of the day with mementos of past victories, while I drag myself awake, move soundlessly through rooms, dig in closets, and eat alone. Some vague fantasy plays itself out in his mind as I gather work paraphernalia and food for a second meal of the day and make my way to the door. Goodbye, and sweet dreams, you lucky dog. And that's one of them. And then another one, and I'm sure that many of us have had this experience, it's called the coffee maker. The coffee maker is there on the counter. It's plugged securely in the outlet. The cup sits dutifully next to the coffee maker, awaiting eventual use. But where's the coffee? Where's the rich, brown, energizing, filling a pouch or a canister? Here I stand looking to the coffee maker to create my morning get-me-up. But where is the pick-me-up, let's get going brew that keeps me running the daily race? Here the canister echoes loud, the air inside, no grounds are found. I must rely on something new. Ah, tea. Caffeinated. Ron was right. I did get Short Supply of Viability published through the Poetry Box in 2022. And I'm going to read a couple of poems from this book. One of the things I tell audiences is that my mother-in-law had Alzheimer's and she would tell the same stories over and over again. And this one she told a lot, and it was one of my favorite stories, and I loved hearing her tell it every single time. His flowered past. She tells how he looked back then, she with her red hair, white skin, just a girl in love, but still aware enough to know her family would not accept his inky Italian blood, would see him as too dark. Chuckling, she tells how she powdered him with flour before introducing him. His full black hair, and she so fair. His tall, muscular build, her so small, and the flour falling off his handsome features to his shirt front. They told her, look elsewhere, he isn't the one. But he was, he always was. He held that bill to the end, even as the cancer wasted him. Kept his muscular frame, despite the chemo's slow spin. His mahogany skin smoothed, faded with the ash of illness. The streetcar rumbled every night past her corner, and he on it, just far enough away to stay out of the sight. In the light of the street lamp, he kissed her. And she still remembers her heart racing when he and she hugged the darkness. She strokes his lush black hair. Laughing, she tells the story again. Thank you. So that was my mother-in-law. Now I'm going to tell you one that's about my mother and my dad. Mother's ring. I wear mother's ring on my right hand. The diamonds are small, barely glints along the silver band's slim, simple smile, circling my ring finger, not the marrying finger, the one on my right hand. Dad was poor. Heck, we all were. But he always said, only the best for your mother, spare no expense. Knowing he could afford nothing, yet somehow getting her heart's desire every time. The tiny diamond chips set into the swaled cleave signified 25 years wedded tether. It became mine to remind me to love through the good and the bad. They were married for 40 years before COPD took them both within 3 months of each other. If that isn't love, I don't know what is. Thank you. I self-published a book of poems. This is a chapbook. It's called Proper Poems for Ladies and a few naughty ones too. And it's actually one of my best sellers. These are my aunties on the cover and they're very saucy. And one is still alive and she is still very saucy into her 90s. So just love her. Anyway, I'm going to read you Blue Jeans, which is one of the saucy ones. When I want to feel good, I wear my blue jeans, the jeans that caress my curves and cinch my waist. They slink over my hips, beneath my butt and snug up against me, so there's no air between me and there. Like a denim skin I've been poured in. Then I pull on my boots, the ones that reach just below my knees, and geez, I feel like I'm ready to go to town, to throw me a fit, then sit with the guys and the gals at the dance or step on the floor with someone and strut a tune or two with a tall someone who'll slide his hands over these jeans, who'll pull me to him while we dance, then take my hand and walk me out the door for more hands on my jeans or in between my jeans and me. Thank you. Becky did one poem on waitressing, and this is a tribute to the waitresses in my family. Many of us were waitresses, myself included. I was a waitress in the 60s, so this reflects that era, leering on the menu. You can call me waitress, miss, or even hey you, or use my name. It's right here on my name tag, clear as day, just above these breasts you've been staring at. You don't need to call me luscious, baby, sweet cheeks, honey bun, or the little wife. I'm not your wife, nor your girlfriend. You don't even know me or anything about me. And please, take your hands off my sweet cheeks. I'm going to read one more from this book. It's called Desperado. And we up here in Minnesota, we have cold nights, and many of us have cold feet. I'm desperate many nights with the cold feet. So Desperado. The frigid night releases Desperado, who slides between the sheets. Ever so slowly, she glides her toes toward her lover, who snores and sleeps. The rise and fall of his sinewy chest gives courage to her plan, which is to snuggle ever so close to the heat rolling off her man. If her mission is successful and temptation can be tamed, frozen feet ever so cold will thaw and live again. So stealthily, silently slides her toe in search of its chosen need, while unsuspecting Romeo lies in slumber's sweet flower and weed. Under the covers in darkness, Desperado surrounds her foe. Both love and hate beguile her as she tries not too far to go. Those feet on that sightless journey do find the prize they seek, and ever so greedy they scurry to the source of the slumbering heat. A voice ever loud in the darkness shatters the still of the night. Desperado's frozen caresses have given him such of a fright. After a time, there is slumber. The oh so frigid will go. Once again, he lies snoring and sleeping as he snuggles his desperado. Proper poems for ladies. A couple of years ago, I worked with Laura Lanick, and her and I did Upon Waking, 58 Voices Speaking Out from the Shadow of Abuse. We held a contest and we gathered poems of people who had experienced sexual abuse. And we went around for a year before the pandemic kind of stopped us, but we went around and did readings, and it was very well received. I want to read the first place winner of our contest, and it is Mary Willett Hughes, who wrote this poem, and it's called In the Dark. After Daddy came and went again, she pulled out Teddy's eyes so he would not see again what happened in the dark. Mama said, "What happened to your Teddy's eyes?" I did it. Daddy made me do it. How many times have I told you not to lie? Just you wait. Just you wait till it's dark and your daddy comes. So this was a a real work of love, but also a work of, it was a pretty difficult book to go through, and we went through over 200 poems to get our 58 poems. And I'm going to read the last poem in this book. And it's one I decided to write because I wanted us to have hope. And many of these books really kind of give us a grim view, but they are also ones with hope as well. So it's You're Not Heavy. I'm strong enough to carry you. The pain you caused, I'll carry that too. I'm strong enough to survive your touch that held my fears in your vile clutch. My wounds have healed. They left a scar that will be carried in my heart. I'm strong enough to cope with years of hateful words burned into my ears. You left me scorched with such smooth skill, but you didn't break my stalwart will. I'm strong enough to forgive and move beyond you and to live. I'm strong enough to rise above, strong enough to choose to love. I'm stronger than the memories of you. I'm strong enough to carry you. Thank you. Back to you, Ron.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks to poets for reading tonight. I enjoyed it very much. I hope you all did. Thanks, Valerie Lockhart and Minneapolis Television Network for putting this on.